Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I am excited to be with you today. This has been a very exciting weekend. For those of you who are from the city of Saginaw, we have had a lot of great things taking place. I want to give a shout out to my man. I saw you out there, Ralph Martin, holding it down for Joyce Harvin. God bless her, and we're praying for her strength and that God would refill and replenish everything that she needs in this very difficult time. But I thank you, Ralph. I saw you in here holding it down for Ms. Harvin. That's how we do in the city of Saginaw. We have one another's back. So we're going to get into a show today that I'm excited to have with you. In a little bit, we'll have the current senator, Senator Kristen McDonald-Ribbit. We're going to talk about how you can get the most out of your tax returns with that new earned income tax credit that is out there. She's going to be in and share that information. But before we get to that, y'all know how we do. I want to talk about what's on my mind. I'm in the studio today with my main man, Matthew White Soul. That's what we call him. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
Man, I am doing phenomenal. So as you know, Matt, we had an opportunity to do something that we haven't done probably since probably the late 70s, and that was to cover live sports on KISS 107 FM. And you were here in the studio while myself and Art and Dennis Barlow were out at the game at the Dow Event Center. So tell me, how did things go here in the office while we were away?
I mean, hey, it went perfectly. The game sounded amazing. It sounded like you guys were having a great time. Like, the atmosphere was just absolutely incredible, you know. The audio sounded great. Everything sounded great.
So we are talking about the final showdown. We want to talk about the final showdown between Saginaw High School and Arthur Hill High School just for a hot second, because I thought that this was it was a bittersweet moment. No one wants to see us lose such historic rivalries. No one wants to be the one to say, hey, close my school. This is the end of how we see things, but it is what it is at this point. Decisions have been made. There will be one school, Saginaw United, just off of in the new Riverfront Saginaw. And I've heard a lot of commentary concerning those things. A lot of this is economics. When you have a city that's built schools based upon 100,000 or more folks in the community, and now you're about 46,000 folks, there's a lot that needs to change. And so we see that changing dynamic. But I want to talk, I see you out there, Rebecca Townsend, Garth, Jeffrey Bulls, Jimmy Green, Saginaw High got spanked. Absolutely. He said that was hazing for next year, I guess. Absolutely. But it was a great occasion for everybody that was in attendance. The tickets sold out in lightning and warp speed. Showing that there is a real appetite for things that really drive to the core of who we are as a community. I think they said in 25 minutes we sold 5,000 tickets. It's hard to believe that something like that would happen in our community because we don't always see it. But that is exactly how nostalgic and how connected people are to the history that they have been able to create from this wonderful city of Saginaw. They always say Sagging awesome. I believe it is the nasty. And you have to understand the story and the reason. It was like when Michael Jackson came out with that song, I'm bad, I'm bad. Everybody thought he was crazy. Like, oh my gosh, he's singing a song about his bad, but he changed the definition of bad and to mean something good. And that's exactly what we had in mind. I also want to just, the pregame event for the returning athletes and those that were coming out of town at 3 p.m., well attended. I was sitting there and I was trying to figure out what time should we get there. The game doesn't start till 7. So I said, what, I probably should get there early. I left the house at 5. And after I found parking, got in, it was kind of nearing 6 o'clock, and there were so many people already there. When I got inside the arena was half full already. And it was just a good time. It was a great time to be there. I want to give a shout out to that part of this new merger that has been holding it down and really paving the way for what things would look like. And that's the Saginaw United Band. They were rocking the house on Saturday. To all of the people who have a part of putting this together, we give you I give you a thumbs up on your creativity and your ability to bring various parts of the community back together for this wonderful experience. So I'd say to the Saginaw United ladies who whooped the brakes off of, I think it was a Flint team or whoever it was under the new coach, Eugene Fookie Seals. Congratulations. Let's just for a hot, quick minute talk about the energy in the house, man. When you got in there, the energy was so exciting. It was electric, in fact. There were so many people that had come back for this particular event, and it was just exciting. I saw people that I hadn't seen in years that had traveled back from Texas and Atlanta and all over this great state, this great country that we have, and it was such an amazing time. Flint went from 4 powerful high schools to 1. So yes, you can recognize and understand that type of pain. We look at, Mateen, I was having a conversation with him a number of years ago, and just how, you come out of a school and you guys are an athletic powerhouse, and you have that to your credit as a history and all of the games that you played against Saginaw and Detroit schools, and then they close your school, and it's such a bitter moment. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but we know that there are greater days ahead. We will, as we often do, be resilient, bounce back, and make greater memories as we move forward. I want to give a shout out to Mark Thomas here at KISS 107.1 FM, also WSGW. Mark, I went to Mark with the idea like, hey, this is going to be something that I think we should cover as a gift to the community. I think that there's going to be so many people who can't get back. And I want to give them an opportunity to have the nostalgic feel of listening to a basketball game on the radio. It's something that I haven't done for a long time, but I remember I used to always love to do that as a young kid growing up. And so shout out to Mark Thomas, Yvonne Daniels, for saying, hey, Kareem, we're going to greenlight this project. Let's make it happen. I appreciate the leverage that they give me in terms of engaging our community and really building a place for KISS 107.1 FM in the community. Not only that, but we also had WSGW. We had the man Art Lewis that was running the equipment and working with us out there as we were making this happen. Art is such a dear friend, known him for over 20 years. And to certainly be able to sit side by side with him and to do work, and even to sit in on behalf of him on his show, it has been such a great privilege. Saginaw Public School District, to my man Otis Ray. Otis is a great guy with that does a lot of good work in the community. He's got the kids going all over the place, exposing them to things and elements that they don't often have the opportunity to do. I give you a shout out on today, Saginaw Public School District, Dr. Roberts, mad love for you looking out for everything that took place. It was absolutely amazing. My man Dennis Barlow. Now this is what's crazy. Dennis and I, I'm always, hey, they were like, hey, Kareem, so yeah, we're going to do this game. So who's going to do play-by-play? And I was like, yeah, you're going to do it? I'm like, yeah, sure, we got it. Who's going to do color? I was like, what's color? And it was interesting. I've never in my life done this before. I've been around basketball forever. I've been around sports. So, basketball, hockey, baseball. I've been around sports my entire life to the highest level. So at, when we talk basketball, we're talking elementary school all the way through the NBA. With hockey, here in the city of Saginaw, growing up with the Saginaw Gears, now the Spirit. But, also during the championship times for, the big Stanley Cup, we're all hockey fans. My family spent a lot of time there doing that. That's great. I see Jimmy Green in the stream. We got the Memorial Cup coming up, but baseball, all of these things were things that we did. And so it has always been a great, one of the things that I've always wanted to do was to really have an opportunity to call a game live. And so I want to thank the radio station for allowing me the opportunity to bring one of my boyhood dreams into fruition. And my main man on this was Dennis Barlow. Dennis has been you were awesome, Dennis. He was a shot caller. I added and built, and I think that everything came out well. We got a nod that the results and the numbers at the station were extremely well. So they said, hey, Kareem, we can do these kind of projects again. I think this is so exciting when you can bring all of these elements of the community together. The halftime special tribute, man, it was absolutely beautiful. When I saw that picture of all of our state champions that came out on the floor, Lamar Woodley, Jay Rich came back, DeAndre Hewlett, Peeper, Boop, everybody, Stanley, Ron Stanley, Cliff Ryan was there. Everybody that was able to come back. I did check earlier and was told that Draymond would not be able to come back because of his responsibilities as they related to the All-Star weekend. And there was a lot of controversy. Now, I shouldn't say a lot of controversy, but folks, this is the thing that boils my chicken, if that's a thing. We have something so amazing, and then we have those Sunday morning, Monday morning quarterbacks that come in and like, well, they should have did this. It was a beautiful event. You can't always get everything that you want, and I think the thing was they were celebrating those individuals that were there. I did make mention of the fact that Charles Rogers, one of the greatest athletes, when we talk about athletic ability in the city of Saginaw, Charles is definitely one of the best athletes that has ever come out of the city of Saginaw. Now, there, I said it. He not only excelled in one sport, but he excelled in multiple sports. He was a beast when it came to basketball. He would elevate so high on that jumper when he would release it. That you could not block it. He was quick as lightning, and so he was a beast. I love to see Charles Rogers play basketball, but we all know that he was that high-flying receiver. He was so fast and had the ability to get up, as I said, and he would use that athleticism to become one of the greatest athletes ever born and manufactured here in the great city of Saginaw. There was no mention of his name, and I do think that was an unintentional slight. And you know, hey, we will try to do. There were so many electric pieces that sometimes something falls through the hole. But anyways, shout out to my man, rest in power, Charles Rogers. With everything that you have and have been to the city of Saginaw, I certainly remember finally the times that we've worked together and the things that we've done. And so rest in power. And then also, I you know, this is one that I don't understand. But Draymond Green, who is marketably the most celebrated athlete that has come out of the city of Saginaw. I don't know. I mean, not only the city of Saginaw. I mean, come on, there are not very many people walking around here with hardware to the tune of 4 NBA championships, 2 Olympic gold medals. These are things that are just rare. One is rare, but to have 4 championship rings, 2 Olympic gold medals, and accolades continuously, all-star. You know, he was also not mentioned. And I think it was more so just because he was not here and there was so much excitement around the those players that were able to come back that it was really charged to the head and not to the heart. But it was an amazing opportunity. They certainly are key individuals and figures in the legacy of sports as we look at it in the city of Saginaw. You can't talk Saginaw without mentioning those 2 great young men. And then also just shout out to the Lumberjacks, them Jack boys. They put it on the Trojans on the sites. One of the young men said that he knew that everybody was in town. I promise you, one thing about Saginaw High is that they support the legacy and the history of Saginaw High in a way, and maybe part of it is because their school will no longer be open. Both Arthur Hill and Saginaw High are both becoming something different, but they support the Trojan pride. I remember growing up as a kid, they used to get on my nerves. Sweet, sweet black and gold. Sweet, sweet black and gold. Oh yeah, but we've come to learn to love it. I've come to really just embrace that part of our Saginaw tradition and our history. One thing that was disappointing, that was the big thing that I missed, was during the entire event, nobody broke out with the Sweet Sweet Black and Gold. I don't think I heard it one time. It may be because they were getting the brakes beat off on the basketball court, but that's a whole nother conversation. But to everyone that was a part of this amazing event, I salute you all. This is absolutely amazing. Now I want to talk and turn really quickly before we take our first commercial break. Those of you who are watching or have listened to the situation going down in Georgia, Fulton County DA Fani Willis, she is now under fire, heavily under fire, taking fire for conflict of interest. And it amounts to this, for those of you who are watching saying, I don't understand what's happening. She has brought, yes, KB has jokes. Yes, I do. She has brought charges upon a former president, something that has never happened in the history. First of all, I think the biggest problem is that we are in a position that there is a need to bring charges on a former president. But anyways, in this process of doing business and taking care of what I think most folks would say, that she probably has one of the most ironclad real cases against this former president. And they know it too. And in pure Trump fashion, and like you do in any other situation, when women are accused, are making accusations of rape, what they do is they attack the character of the woman to try to make her the ire of the conversation. And this is what's going on here. So Fani Willis, the DA down in Fulton County, has started a relationship with this. I guess he would be considered a consultant for Georgia that was coming on to assist. He had his own private practice doing other things. Nathan Wade is his name. And they, this was like made for TV. For all you Atlanta housewife folks out there who are in love with the housewives and loving hip hop basketball, this was a part of dramatic television that was unscripted and was really not planned to happen. We watched her testimony on last week, and she came in hot. She was defending herself and some of the things. And those of y'all that are out there, I grew up where my grandparents kept money inside a sock, inside of a jar. My grandfather had a little hole in the wall in the closet that he used to keep his money in, because people of a certain generation, they didn't trust the banks. They didn't trust that the banks was going to keep their money. You're talking about a generation that is just one generation away from slavery. And so they had different takes and beliefs in terms of how they operated. But that situation is absolutely out of this world. We're going to see what happens, because she came in, and I think that she held down. They didn't want to deal with her no more. Because, Judge, we need to deal with her as a hostile witness. She came in telling the truth about what was going on and what was happening, her thoughts and her perspectives. Keep tuned to what happens there, because what happens in that courthouse really will shape the face of what happens with the political landscape as it relates to the presidential election. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, and when we come back, we're going to be with Senator Kristen McDonald-Rivet. And I hope that you guys tune in. Let's like, tag, and share this conversation. Stay, don't go away. We'll be back with more of Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Pucker up, Mid-Michigan. Ryan Wasik here from Bell Wasik GMC Buick, your only local Buick dealer and home with a lifetime warranty. And this month, I'm on a mission to help you fall in love with a nicer, newer car. So if your old ride's left you brokenhearted, kiss it goodbye. And I'll give you up to $5,000 more than Kelley Blue Book value, based on the price of the car you pick. You deserve a ride that makes your heart skip a beat. So bring me your old ride and kiss it goodbye, because you could get way more than it's worth. Do other dealers leave you feeling lonely? My team's passionate about approvals. We kiss up to the banks and lenders who want to say yes to you. So kiss your old ride goodbye. And you could get up to $5,000 more than Kelley Blue Book value based on the price of the car you pick. But hurry, once I help 14 people, my lips are sealed and this deal's done. I'm Ryan Wasik and I'm your dealer for the people. See all my swoon-worthy rides at RyanApproved.com. That's RyanApproved.com.
Credit requires bank approval. Vehicle purchase price determines actual trade allowance. Negative equity may be refinanced. Kelley Blue Book is a registered trademark of Kelley Blue Book Company. Offer absolutely ends February 29, 2024.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. I gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Hey, it's Steve Harvey, y'all. Here's what happened on the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
Profanity, lying, sex. One has to go.
I just think lying got.
Lying.
I'm just gonna tell the truth and have sex.
So you tell the truth, you're not gonna have no sex. You're not gonna have no marriage. That's the stupidest thing you ever said right there. That's about the stupidest thing you've ever said right there. If you stop lying, you ain't gonna have no marriage. Boy,
Wait a minute, huh?
you have
This was
no
a hard
idea
one for you
the
guys.
predicaments you're gonna find yourself in if you stop lying. Kiss 107.1, simply the best R&B.
This is the KISS community page where you'll find out about everything going on in the Great Lakes Bay region areas of Saginaw, Bay City, and Midland. SVSU presents A Taste of Soul, a Great Lakes Bay celebration with special soul dishes for you to enjoy. Thursday, February 22nd in Marketplace of Doane, right off Curtis Hall, from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For more information, call 989-964-4068. The 30th Annual Taste of Soul Luncheon. It's happening at the First Ward Community Center, 1410 North 12th Street in Saginaw. Friday, February 23rd from 11:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. A portion of the proceeds go towards the First Ward Community Center youth programs. The Ezekiel Project's 27th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. Prayer Breakfast, February 24th from 9 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. Takes place at the Horizons Conference Center, 6200 State Street in Saginaw. Dr. John Welch of the 6 Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church is the keynote speaker. Community organizers, please send your events to the KISS community page at least 2 weeks in advance. For more details and to find out about all the amazing events, visit KISSWTLZ.com.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
This is Kareem, and we're back in the studio. And as you see, I'm not by myself anymore. I'm here with Senator Kristen McDonald Rivet. I remember when you first were running, I was trying to Rivet Pivot.
Because you couldn't remember how to say my name.
I could not, because I kept wanting to call you Rivet, because I had a friend, Amy Rivet, here in Carlton Township that went to school with. But yes, so Senator Rivet's in the house. How you doing, Senator Rivet?
I'm terrific.
She is fresh. She is glowing, and she seems very calm and centered. Why is that, Senator?
So I spent the weekend at a silent spiritual women's retreat. So from Friday night until this morning, said not a word.
You didn't say a word?
I didn't say a word.
Whoa.
I know. Yeah, knowing me, it's hard to believe, but I did. Just spent the whole time in silence and prayer. And
so someone communicated, we're going to do this next. We're going to, how did this, how do you have a silent retreat?
So, everybody gets together, right? a little bit of that. So you had to do a sort of kind of excuse me when you bumped into somebody, but we arrived on Friday night and just met each other, had a nice social, and then we gathered in a room. There was an agenda of what was going to happen, and we walked through some spiritual activities. We did some prayers, and then at 9:00 they just said the silence begins now. And we had breaks of time for us to do our own thing, spend some time in the chapel, spend some time reading, journaling. I might have taken a nap.
I would be out of my mind. But I think that having the opportunity, I guess, to center yourself and to reflect inwardly and just spend some time. I guess you're spending time with your scriptures, with the word, asking Holy Spirit to speak to you.
That's exactly it. That's
Okay.
exactly it. And the thing is there's so much that's happening right now. So there's all of the pieces that you're talking about leading into this segment, but also just the noise of
White noise,
social media,
yeah.
there's so much noise. And so it can feel, when there's a lot going on, almost scary to sit in silence. So doing it with a group of people who are doing it with you.
So you said about 40 people.
Yeah, 40 people, 40 women.
40 women sitting in silence for the entire weekend.
Yes.
How can they bottle that?
Such an interesting question coming from a pastor.
Yeah, no. I think that would be something that would be absolutely amazing. I would be excited about the challenge and the opportunity to be able to do so. Being silent for an entire weekend would certainly be a challenge. I remember there was a time I had vocal nodules and I had to use, a pen and paper to write everything down for 2 whole weeks. Can you imagine how crazy I was after that?
I can't imagine you.
Yeah,
you must have been frustrated.
It was a challenge. There is a birthday. Before we get into the meat of this conversation on today, Orlando Jones, who is a continual listener. You are so faithful in your listenership. Today he celebrates his birthday. He's going to have a steak is what he's saying. He's going to get out and have a steak and a good meal. Happy birthday, Orlando Jones. Thank you for your continued listenership and being a part of the social media audience here at Straight Talk. All right. So we brought you in because it is time, that time of the year when people are filing taxes. As a matter of fact, I think it was the 31st of January is when the entire process started. And your office sent out some information to make sure that people were maximizing and able to get and remember all of the pieces of this new deduction that they're able to get to benefit their maximum return. And so I was like, I don't want to read this over I get confused by this legal speak. So I was like, why can't we just get the lady in herself? Because you were a champion on this legislation. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, what's the name of the credit?
Okay, so it's the Working Families Tax Credit.
There we go. The Working Family Tax Credit.
So when I was here, maybe I think last year, and 2 years ago, when I was campaigning for this seat, I kept talking about how particularly in our area, in our communities, a lot of people are really financially struggling, and particularly those that are making less than $50,000 a year. So it turns out, as we've always known, half of the children in Michigan live in a household that makes less than $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
So, the best thing that we can do, the best thing that we can focus on as elected officials, as elected leaders, is to figure out how to relieve that pressure. So there has been this federal thing called the Earned Income Tax Credit since the early 1970s. And it's for folks that are in that income bracket.
Not to interrupt you, but there's a whole bunch. You got a whole crowd on social media here who's wanting to go.
I'm teasing it out so they'll listen longer.
No, they want to go. They're trying to get on this women's retreat of silence with you. So if you're looking for another group, it almost sounds like we're creating a cult out in the desert. No, that's not what we're doing.
We're willing to consider a cult out in the desert.
But there's so many women are saying, "Hey, we would love to have that opportunity." Let's get back to the conversation at hand.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Okay, so I just want to say, so the Earned Income Tax Credit is a federal piece. Layered on top of that is the Working Families Tax Credit. Same criteria, but it's the Michigan based. And it was something that we just know that families need right now. So, I'm a mom. I got like 1 million kids. There's 6 of them. And
wow, you got a basketball team.
I do. Only 2 of them are any good at basketball. So it's a problem. But they, I know that at the end of the month, and a backpack breaks or rips and you need a new one, or suddenly you realize the snow pants don't fit. Things that are everyday needs, particularly of kids, are often really hard for folks making less than $50,000. So it was my biggest priority when I campaigned, and it was the first thing that I did when I got to Lansing. The very first bill I introduced was the Working Families Tax Credit, which is going to increase in Michigan what that tax credit means. So
okay, when I remember when you were first elected down in Lansing, this was the first stop that you made when you were having that conversation.
Yeah.
And you were talking about doing the work of getting this legislation passed.
Yeah.
So now the legislation is passed.
Yes.
So what does this mean for Michiganders?
It is the potential to be game-changing money. So if you qualify for the EITC, you qualify for this. And it can mean when you file your taxes.
Earned income tax credit for those of you listening.
Earned income tax credit. If you qualify for this, you can get between, as up to $3,200 back on your taxes, regardless of how much you owe. It's what's called fully refundable, which means you get the whole amount, regardless what it says at that last little number on your tax return. But here's the thing that's really important to know whether or not you qualify.
Now, is that automatic?
No, you got to apply for it.
Okay, this is why y'all got to listen. This is why she's here.
This is why I'm here. So you got to qualify it. So you can go to irs.gov/EITC, and there's this really simple calculator that helps you figure out whether or not you qualify.
Mhm.
We've also mailed into everybody's houses. It's green and white. I know you're always tempted to throw the mail into the recycling bin, but there's a QR code that you can scan that will take you to a calculator to say whether or not you qualify. And there is free tax assistance for folks. If you want to have someone else help you with taxes, call 211 and tell them you're interested in free tax assistance. Because the first thing that I did was fight really hard to get this through the legislature, which we ended up passing in a bipartisan manner. But it was a fight. I had to fight with the Republicans. I had to fight a little bit with my own party to get it from 6% of the federal credit all the way up to 30% of the federal credit. So
in real time, or in layman's terms, let's give an example of what that would look like for a household family. If give us, if you make this much, this is what this looks like, or on average, this is what
on
it was.
average, you're going to get about $3,200 back.
Now, the thing that startles me is that many people think that all you have to do is file your credit, your taxes.
Yeah.
And when you file your taxes, if you meet certain metrics, you automatically get these dollars. That's how a lot of people lose money.
It is. So last year in this community, 40% of the people eligible didn't apply. And that just makes me crazy, right? 40% we left so much money on the table.
Get your money. Playing with my money is like playing with my emotions. Come on, y'all.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So we are doing everything we can. I am personally out and knocking on doors in February on the east side of Saginaw, taking this card to people saying, ask if you qualify. Make sure you're asking if you qualify.
So they're asking whom? Let's be very clear. So if they're coming, they're getting their taxes done. Let's say they're going to H&R Block to get their taxes done.
All you have to say is, do I qualify for the EITC?
Okay.
Earned income tax credit.
And then you want to make sure that you get your money, get your $3,200.
$3,200.
That's a sizable that is respectable.
Is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Okay. So now you were talking about what Michigan legislature has done.
Yeah.
And there also were some things that the federal government has done. Are these things concurrent?
Yes.
In terms of how they operate? So once you go through and say, hey, let me get my EITC, am I eligible for this? They work out the numbers. You then get the benefit. That total benefit from both of these packages, from the federal and the state, is a $3,200.
Yes, that's the combined.
Okay.
3,200 is combined. So the state part of it is going to equal somewhere between right around $750 on top of the federal, and that gets you to your 3,200.
Okay. So what is the thing that people need to know most about this credit? Is there anything else that lies out there that people need to really, first of all, once again, how can they find out EITC? That is correct, Yvonne Daniels. How can they find out, and if they're eligible, once again, going to
irs.gov/EITC. And the most important thing that people have to know is, if you don't apply for it, you're not getting it.
Well, makes sense to me.
You file your taxes and you don't file the portion of it around the EITC. You have to ask for it. You have to tell them. A good tax prep attorney is going to prepare.
There you go.
A good tax preparer is going to know to ask that, because they're looking at your income. They know, but like I said, huge numbers don't do it.
This tax credit. Let's talk about the DNA of the person. that should really be saying, hey, let's make sure we ask this question when we go in, because there's so many people whose cousins and sisters or brothers or relatives of the family, or you do them yourselves.
Yeah.
And so you miss these things. Let's talk about the DNA of the person who is prime target for this type of tax incentive.
So the first thing is that you have to be working.
Okay.
If you don't have any earned income, then you're not eligible. So unfortunately, that does mean that some of our younger, newly independent folks don't qualify, and then our retired seniors don't qualify.
Okay.
But mostly, most folks that are filing their taxes of working age will qualify as long as you're making less than $50,000 a year. And then there's a formula added to it, right? So if you're making $50,000 a year with no kids, you may not qualify.
Okay.
But it's a sort of thing where the dependents come in and the family comes in. So there's a formula, and the amount you get is dependent on how many kids you have and how much you made.
Wow. I am hoping that you all are getting this information. I thank you for putting it in the social media stream. We want to make sure that when you file your taxes, you come out smiling. All right. That you get all of the money that you are deserved. All right. So is there anything else regarding this EITC that we need to look how I said it just rolled off my tongue?
Yeah.
Is there anything else regarding EITC that we need to really make sure that we hone in on? Anything that maybe we did not catch?
If let's say you only made $4,000 last year,
Okay.
you're still going to get the full amount of the EITC. It's refundable. So the amount that you get back is not dependent. As long as you qualify, you're getting up to the maximum amount, depending on your dependents, depending on how many kids you have, that kind of thing. But it isn't, means you get dollars back, even if you are, normally you wouldn't fully qualify for that. So,
and so if you make less money than that 50,000, like say someone makes 48, you're at 23.
Yeah.
The impact to your bottom line is really much more significant because you
100%.
haven't. Okay, got what you're saying.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we get those dollars. But while I have the senator here, we have a few minutes left. What shall we talk about? There's a lot happening as you talked about, and Yvonne Daniels said that it was wonderful to hear a politician sitting quiet and praying and focusing on God's word. I would agree that one of the things that we need to hear more often of. You have made the decision, which I'm mad that you didn't come here to make the declaration. But anyways, I'll let it go because you did as when
next
you were
major announcement. I brought.
next major one. As the last time you came, you promised that you would come and this would be one of your first stops. And so I appreciate you doing that. But you're back here. So you've made a decision to run for the vacant seat by Dan Kildee that is now open. And you were on urban radio today. So this is straight talk, no chaser, no filter. So that's how our conversations have been. And that's what we do here on this show.
Yeah.
What was the motivation to move from where you were in Lansing to look at this position that Kildee now leaves available as our state rep, as our U.S. rep?
Yeah. So yep, I'm running for Congress. It certainly wasn't my plan. And I have felt like we've gotten some really good work, I've gotten some really good work done in Lansing, including, I was able to get this tax credit passed, was able to pass some really important gun violence prevention legislation, standing up to, we're trying to do some work in trying to rein in the cost of prescription drugs and a number of other things, right? All of that really matters. But so much of it rolls up to the federal level. So let's take prescription drugs as an example.
Okay.
So we've got a set of bills. I've got a bill right now that sets an upper payment limit for how much certain drugs can cost in Michigan. The problem is that if you're a drug maker, you can just go across state lines. Now, what we're trying to do is build multiple states that all will come together to form an upper payment limit on this. So we all know somebody who can't afford their prescription. I was my mother died very slowly and very painfully from an autoimmune disease with drugs that busted their bank, right? So we can't make a difference in prescription drugs in a meaningful way until Congress acts.
Yeah.
Childcare is broken.
Yeah.
Childcare is broken. In July, I was at a convening in the White House with other state legislators to talk about how we were able to use the dollars that are coming from the feds to help fix our childcare systems. Nobody could make it work because
what's the biggest issue?
The biggest issue is there's not enough money and we're not paying
Okay.
our childcare providers enough.
There you go. I mean, they only watch your kids.
They only watch our kids,
Right.
right? And the hardest job possible. But so whether we're talking about childcare, prescription drugs, the need for healthcare, the cost of housing, most of this rolls up to acts of Congress. And I was, sitting in my chair on the Senate, really happy to be able to work on behalf of people in this community. But when Dan Kildee announced his retirement, I looked at it and thought, this is an opportunity to take this agenda to a place that has meaning times 10 in a way that we can help our community, the way we can help families that are struggling. We know in Michigan, we're struggling. We just are.
Yeah.
People aren't making enough money. Our schools are really struggling. You and I texted a bit about this, right?
Yeah.
We, 86% of African-American fourth graders are not proficient in reading.
Man, can you say that statistic one more time?
This is in Michigan. 86% of African-American fourth graders are not proficient in reading.
I need my listeners to hear how detrimental this is. And I know Karen Lawrence Webster, you're out there. You have some plans that you're working. Everybody needs a plan for literacy. When Michigan is leading the nation in illiteracy, we're above Mississippi.
Yeah, or below Mississippi.
I mean, we're leading. We are the worst.
Worst in the country. And so to take an opportunity.
And I say that, let me say that. The reason I say that we're below Mississippi in our reading standards and our ability for our young people reading is because oftentimes we look at Mississippi and Alabama and they're country bumpkins.
Yeah.
But the country bumpkins are outperforming Michigan, the great state of Michigan, when it comes to literacy. This is absolutely unthinkable. It's preposterous. How did we get here? We got to do something about it. This is the conversation. You sent me a text message like,
I was in committee when I
yeah, you were in committee like, Kareem, this is happening.
Yeah.
They just announced these statistics. This is absolutely alarming. And we've known that we've been failing our kids for a while.
Yes.
So this is the culmination of years of not necessarily being able to attack and address the agenda the way that we need to.
100%. So, you asked me why I'm running for Congress.
Absolutely.
I'm running for Congress because the opportunity to take this agenda to a bigger stage with bigger tools to work on this issue was the biggest draw for me. I didn't plan to run for Congress, but the seat's open now. And it's no secret that Washington is broken, that it's a little crazy up there. Right?
We didn't recognize that.
But we fix our politics one person at a time, and we can fix these issues with building a coalition and demanding change. And so that's not going to be quick and it's not going to be easy, but I do think that it's the right agenda, and it's the right agenda for our community right now. And I think that I am the best person to make sure it happens.
Okay.
So I'm running for Congress.
What makes you the best person?
Well,
you can't come tell me I think that tell me why you're the best person.
I've worked on and centered the welfare of kids, the well-being of kids my entire career. I have a track record of getting things done. So let me just talk back to the earned income tax credit for a second. That was part of the Democratic agenda, but getting it from 6% in Michigan all the way up to 30% of the federal credit.
That's a huge leap.
That was a fight. I had to fight within my party and across the aisle to make that happen. I am a tenacious, feisty Irish mom who understands that we actually have to take real action. You're never going to find me as a person who fills my Twitter feed and gets into dramatic political fights so that I can get my name in the papers or whatever they are.
Well,
I work on agendas and I get things done.
Well, let's talk about that, because we are now, you're here in the city of Saginaw on KISS 107.1 FM, Saginaw's urban, on Saginaw's #1 urban program, Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. Thank you for your continued listenership. And understanding that Saginaw now has a candidate that has been born and raised in the city of Saginaw. Let me say it that way. She's gone through and matriculated through the Saginaw school districts. And we know who we're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
So how do you position yourself, and what would you say to the city of Saginaw when they're looking at, you can get with this or you can get with that? That's Blackstreet for those of you that know that. You could get with this or you could get with that. So what would be the reason, or what would be the draw, or what would be when people are thinking about who to vote? We vote our heart, we vote our mind, our politics. What's your message to that type of scenario? Because that's really what you're dealing with here today.
Yeah, we're likely to have a crowded primary, quite honestly. But you'll never see me attacking or going after anybody in this primary. What I want to say is that Saginaw has seen me show up after the election. So I was there on the doors talking with folks. I was in the churches. I was in the community meetings on the way to get elected. And guess where I was the Sunday after the election? I was back in services. I was back in community. This is what I do. I work with people. The district is Midland, Saginaw, Bay City, Flint, and all of the surrounding townships. It's a really big district, but I have a track record of actually delivering the things I've said I'm going to do. And I have a really, I show up. That's what I got to tell you. I deliver and I show up, and that's my record. That's what I'll stand on.
Well, I great answer. I think one of the other things that, so when you look at this, I'm thinking, okay, Flint has to have someone that is interested. So what do you say about the competition? There's a lot of people that I think that are eyeing that position.
Yeah.
You show up. How do you feel that you are better suited for this position than the other people that have made, their name noticed or recognized or thrown their hat in the ring? What makes you better suited for this?
Look at what I've gotten done.
What's that?
Look what I got done.
Okay.
So the first thing I did getting me in office is a $500 million tax cut that is affecting the state where half of our state's children live. The second thing I did, and the first law with my name on it, attacks gun violence on the street. So a safe storage bill, right?
I know that. And I'm going to tell you, I was really Tamara Tucker. When I saw that you had her down on the
floor. She was
floor,
my guest for the State of the State.
And I was really impressed. Tamara has experienced, and most people don't know her story, extreme circumstances that have centered around gun violence. Horrifying.
Yeah.
And I did see that you brought her as your personal guest on the floor. So I thought, first of all, shout out Tamara for continuing the work and the legacy of community violence intervention and prevention as it relates to gun violence. But that is one of the things that I know that you
I care very much about it. But it's also so. I'd been in office, I think, all of 7 days when I issued that invitation to have her come sit with me in the State of the State. She's working through an organization, Parents of Murdered Children. Let's just stop for a minute and talk about the fact that we have to have an organization called Parents of Murdered Children. Right?
Yeah.
The gun violence, the weapons of war in our streets are a really big problem. Now, I'm not talking about people who own weapons for hunting. I'm not talking about people who own weapons for toys, right?
Right.
But they shouldn't be in places where kids get a hold of them or end up on the street, murdering our kids.
We should not be hunting our kids.
We should not be hunting our kids.
Yeah,
It's the number one cause of death of children in the United States right now. So people are afraid to touch it, frankly, in Michigan.
But look at what we're talking about here. So we got illiterate kids who are being killed like animals, that are being hunted down like animals.
Yeah.
So we got some serious issues that we have to deal with here. And so you said something, and I want to walk through the door. You said you were there all of 8 days when you invited Tamara.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to folks who are saying, why don't Senator Rivet, no disrespect, but this is just how I'm phrased, Why doesn't she sit her behind down and just stay in Lansing? Why is she trying to leave? She hasn't finished the last job. She just got there.
Yeah.
It's just under a year that she's been there. Why is she leaving? Stay where we elected you.
Yeah, I hear that. I understand that deep in my soul.
Okay. I'm being honest. These are the questions that are out there.
You know what? We have to have someone in Lansing that is willing to solve problems, not create drama, that has a track record of getting big things done, of taking on things that are hard. The reason why I talk about the gun violence bill is everyone said to me, do not vote on that. Do not vote on that. People will be angry. You will never get reelected if you vote on that. In a state and in a district. I mean, let's remember that this district leans Republican, right? The congressional district and
I would have never believed it, but when you go back and you look at the votes and you look at the turnout and you look at who's won,
this is a lean Republican district.
I was kind of tripping.
And the other piece of it is that the congressional district right now is polling 50-50 Democrat Republican. So
Wow.
yeah, this is a battleground, tough seat to win. I've shown that I can win a battleground seat, but I want to go back to this gun issue because it's important.
Go ahead.
So when early in my career, I was told by a mentor, the smartest thing I heard, and he said, whenever you start a job, know what you're willing to be fired for.
That's good.
You fight the right fights, right? And you do what's right. And so I was told, make sure you don't vote on that. I didn't vote on it. I sponsored it, right? Because it was the right thing to do. Fighting my own party in order to get a bigger tax cut for people in our community was the right thing to do. So I'm just a pragmatic problem solver. And I not only think that I can get something done in Washington, I think I'm very well positioned to win the district, which is important.
We can all say that. We understand that, and this is politics, that it comes down to dollars and cents. It comes down to the ability to fundraise and to make that money. What do you say in response to that statement? You got to raise the money.
You got to raise the money. Listen, it's the part of the way that politics is broken, the amount of money that's in it. But the reality is you have to be able to get your message out. You have to be on radio. You have to be on TV. You have to be able to do that work. And, we have been able to raise money. So in my state Senate race, I raised $1 million in that state Senate race.
Wow.
With the average contribution less than $30.
That's good.
Right. So it's about bringing people into your campaign and into your coalition that are also investing. And I've shown I've been able to do that. And then when we announced for Congress, I raised $250,000 in the first 24 hours.
Wow.
Because people believe in what I'm trying to get done. Because we built a coalition. And we say it all the time. It's we, not me. Let's all go together and let's get this done. And there's been a couple hundred people turned up when I announced and encouraged me to do it. And we've been setting a pretty good pace in raising money since then.
Wow.
At this point, almost entirely from individuals.
Wow. So I want to thank you. An hour goes by so fast, but I want to thank you for coming in and answering the questions, because I was like, listen, if there's money on the table, let's make sure that everyone maximizes their refund. That was the initial reason that you were here. But since we had you here today, I said, we got to ask the questions because I hear them circulating in the community. So I wanted to ask the question. And if you don't mind answering a tough question, we are always here to have our doors open for you. I wish you well on your future bid and your endeavors. I want to thank everyone that's out there in the listening audience. Thank you for continually making Straight Talk your number one show in our target audience here at 107.1 FM. This is the end of our program. And as we always say, take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you. Grace and peace.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.